All right, what is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that team, I've reached out directly and indirectly to over 100,000 fathers around the world in 2023, 2022, and 2021. And I'm also a featured contributor to the Fly Nubian Queen YouTube network, which is for Black women, which is run by Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. So I always say thank you to that. And it is a new month, March 1st. I'm still saying, where did February go? I know it was Black History Month, the shortest month of the year. Go figure. And even had one extra day, 29, and it's still the shortest month of the year. But we are here. We are doing all right. So a few things before we get started. Thank you also. If you're watching live on the replay, it's appreciated, not taken for granted. So a few things. Please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, follow the Dr. Vibe Show on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Want to advertise your business, product, or service on the platform, any of the platforms that I host, please email me dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. And finally, you can join the Morning Vibe Discord group where myself and members of the group continue the conversation in between. I post replays of Epic Conversations. So as I said, it's March 1st today. Looking forward to another great month. And we already have some people already in the house. I think, no, there are people watching. All right. Fitnance IQ Cam, KSEYL, RW, FQ, FE. Yeah. Okay. FE or FM. Those last two. Yes, it is the first of the month and the weather is just in the last few days in Toronto, we had nice weather. Then it really took a dip. And now it's coming back up again. They're saying this weekend we're going to get around like 8 to 10 degrees Celsius, which is about 48 to 50 degrees. Beginning of March. Go figure. Fitness IQ Cam. Yes. The lady who likes to lead me. Her and I are actually going to see each other tomorrow. I'll get to that in a minute, which reminds me, that is why Ryan is not here. Ryan is the co-executive director of an organization called ACBN, the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. And they're having their 5th symposium, 5th annual event tomorrow, and their guest speaker is Dr. Joyce Fraser. I'll tell people now, if you know an event called First Fridays, it's been happening for many years. The first Friday of the month is aimed towards African individuals, African professionals. I will be interviewing Dr. George Fraser this evening. We met over 10 years ago, and it was a great conversation then. So I'm looking forward to part 2. So that's some of the stuff that's going on. Interesting enough, within 10 hours last night, I had 2 conversations with African women who I really respect about the state of Black men. One of the ladies is divorced with 2 kids and wonderful lady. And we had a really good, respectful conversation about the plight of Black men. And we're having a really good time. And I left the conversation better, respect what this lady had to say and her journey. And it was really, really good for me to have that conversation. Then last night around 10:30, I got a call from a lady who is a marriage consultant. And believe it or not, African lady. And the majority of her clients are of South Asian. And it's interesting. And she said, you know, you need to host a conversation about Black marriage. I go, okay, well, you are in that realm a little bit more than myself. So she is planning to set up a conversation, a digital panel about Black marriage. You know, why are there so many challenges when it comes to Black marriage? Because I don't know what the stats here in Canada, where I'm based in Toronto, but in the US, they say around approximately 70% of African Black children grow up without a father. It not only has an impact on the family, it has an impact on wealth. There's so many variables, which that's a whole different conversation on that. You know, actually, for those in the Discord group, I'm going to put up a conversation I did a little while back with Dr. Alicia Watkins, and she's very passionate about the state of Black men. So people remind me I can put the replay up of that conversation. So that is some of the things going on and getting a lot of traction, believe it or not, on my YouTube shorts. And actually, our friend, Mr. Harris, I've put him up in a lot of the shorts content, and it's getting a lot of good response. No surprise at all. It's getting a lot of good response. You know what? Let me bring Mr. Harris on. Let's do a little banter. We'll take a break. Always good to have Wayne Harris with us. Mr. Harris, what's going on?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Happy March 1st, buddy.
Right back at you. How are you and the family?
Life is good, man. I gotta say, I only had to use my snowblower once this winter so far.
You
so
know that?
knock on wood.
Yeah, that's how I measure a winter in Toronto. How much I have to use a snowblower, right?
Facts.
You know, before we go any further, I was in remembrance. You put up a post about your father
Yes.
on
his birthday.
Instagram, and I just want to hail up your dad and the legacy that he has left. I just wanted to do that publicly to you and your family. Great man. I never had the opportunity to meet him, but I've met him through you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Appreciate
February 23rd, he would have been 91.
Exactly. I took a little bit of moment of silence when I saw the post and some reflection on that. So I'm even getting a little touched about it right now.
Yes. You and me both. Trust me.
Yeah. So what would you like to ask George Fraser?
Ooh.
You know what? You may want to email. That's no. Okay. Why don't I just get up and walk away? I've got some questions, but I'm going to get some opportunity to spend some quality time with Mr. Fraser.
Yeah, I've met him maybe 20, 25 years ago when he came to town. I think was a part of a series down on King Street. So he came through. Les Brown came through.
Wow.
And a few others came through.
Wow.
It was powerful. It was like $25 to go see him. I think that I would like him to do a tale of the tape. I'd like him to talk about what Canada and America looked like the first time he hit Toronto and what it looks like today and where he thought it would be during that time. So I would like him to do a gap analysis between where we are and where we should be based on what we knew 25 years ago when I first met him. I think he might be severely disappointed.
I'm sure he will be. I can tell. I know he's going to be disappointed. Would you like that to be contrasted between Black Canada and Black US or just Black North America?
You know what? Black Canada, just like Black North America, is different depending on where you are. If you're in a better socioeconomic position in the United States, things are much better. If you're LeBron James versus Michael Jordan, you think about the money LeBron is making on and off the court versus what Mike made. LeBron would be a 4 times billionaire if you compare dollar to dollar. LeBron's a billionaire, but so is Mike. But Mike had to go through very, very poor contracts and TV contracts and so on and made his money with his endorsements. LeBron, the same thing, but the cash flow because of the TV deals are so exponentially
and
larger.
his movie, oh my gosh. Yeah.
So I think that if you look at the real dollars, if we took a $1991, a Jordan dollar, and compared it to a 2024 LeBron dollar, Mike makes significantly less money than LeBron at that time. And look at the impact of what Mike has done to parlay what he did because of his savviness and his mother's savviness on negotiating that contract with Nike, because Charles Barkley had a shoe deal and Mike said take stock, and Chuck didn't understand stock, so he just took the shoe and the money. And you see the difference. Chuck is working every day and with TNT, and Mike is on yachts all over the world just chilling. I can't remember. I think it was Dave Chappelle who said, let's bring in Ja Rule, what the Black community needs. And Malcolm X said it over 50 years ago, bringing in celebrities and entertainers as the voice of the Black community. He goes, what other community brings in entertainers to represent their voice in society? It's laughable, but nothing's changed in 60 years because here we are listening to people that have access to the microphone but don't have any more relationship with the struggle. It's very, very disturbing.
That's you read my exact whereas I wasn't going to say disappointing, disturbing.
Yes. So JJ Morris put in the chat that LeBron is much more active than Mike in the Black community. I think LeBron is much more visibly active than Michael, because if you check the receipts, you'll see that LeBron has done a lot for the kids and a lot for the schools and so on visibly. To your point, JJ, Mike was much more cautious in showing any blue or red in his actions. LeBron has actively said he is going to be blue. Mike said Republicans buy shoes too.
Yep. I remember him saying that. Right.
So Mike has been much more cautious in his support, but he has set up, I guess, of late, a number of clinics and healthcare donations in significant amounts in his home state of North Carolina. LeBron is much more visible in his activism. Michael Jordan would not wear a Black Lives Matter shirt in warmups. He wouldn't do it. So to that point, you're correct. But Mike has turned the corner there where he's actually writing some checks to help out certain causes that he believes in.
Before we get into this subject, I don't know if I should drop this or not because this would take over the show, but what did you feel about my comments about getting 2 phone calls in less than 10 hours from 2 African Black women showing their concern about Black men?
I think that the internet, your algorithm is set to see certain things, and mine is set to see certain things. I remember during the heart of the pandemic, Kevin Samuels was trending. Rest in peace to the Godfather. And that perspective, now that he's gone, he's left a void, and people have piggybacked on his perspective on femininity, masculinity, and a Black man and Black woman relationship. If you get caught up in the popular algorithm that's out there, we're the only culture that speaks openly about the relationship between Black and white. You don't see Chinese men and Chinese women debating about what masculinity and femininity is in public court. You don't see white people doing it. You don't see Italians, Jews, Greeks, Portuguese, Spanish doing it. We're the only culture that goes out to open court and airs our potentially dirty laundry about our culture. I don't see how that helps women, to be honest. If you understand the socioeconomics of why our women may be wired towards independence and strength, this is socioeconomics in the last 50 years. This is not true throughout Black history. This was not true in the 50s. It was not true in the 30s. It was not true in the 1910s. It was not true in the 1800s. It's only true from 1968 till now. What changed to empower Black women to follow what some may see as a feminist agenda? Whose agenda is it? And are they piggybacking on it? Are they leading it, or are they following? This is a question for the women. I really have to ask you, check the receipts over the last 50 years and see if the mandate of being independent is serving you. And if it is, carry on.
Before we go to break, interesting, some people will say, at least from a U.S. perspective, that mass incarceration and drug culture, some people say introduced by the CIA to a lot of Black communities, made it that the man of the family became the government.
100%. I think that a couple of things happened. One, the passing of all the leaders, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, MLK, and others who died during that time. Two, the sexual revolution in the 60s and the changing of the values of sexuality. Add to that Roe v. Wade and the abortion law that was changed in the early 70s as well, which created an opportunity for women to make a decision where abortion would be legal, and then bringing in people, nefarious characters like Margaret Sangster and Planned Parenthood, to plot Planned Parenthood into all the Black communities so we would abort young men and young women. Because if you think about America and the trending of the Black population before Roe v. Wade and since Roe v. Wade, the number I've heard is 100 million Black babies have been aborted from Roe v. Wade till today. If you had 100 million more Blacks in America, there's about 45 million Blacks in America right now. That's 145 million Blacks. Of the 340 million people there, I think we would have a little more gravitas as the second minority. We would hold that position, right? Because you think about the number of children we were having back in the day versus the number of children we're having now. Back in the day, my mother had 3 or 4. And if you consider all the halves, maybe 7 or 8 of them. And you think about her parents probably had 10 to 14 kids. And then I have 2. So we are selecting to have less kids. And then we are using abortion as a contraception in some cases. You get rid of 100 million people over the last 50 years, you're going to lose your position as the first minority in the country. The second thing I'm going to say is a social welfare contract came into being right around that time, where the government said if you have a man in your house, he can't be in the house. It must be a single mom and the kids. Add to that the Vietnam War and Blacks not being in university, so they're going to have to go and get conscripted, and the draft comes in. So those guys go off in the 60s and 70s, and then you have the infusion of crack into the culture in the 80s. So the 60s, we have the civil rights movement and Vietnam. 70s, we have the tail end of Vietnam, and we have the advent of COINTELPRO, gets rid of the Panthers, gets rid of the Black consciousness. All those things kind of disappear. Then we bring in Roe v. Wade. Then we bring in the war on drugs, which is really the war on Blacks, introduce crack cocaine into the inner city. Then we bring in mass incarceration with 3 strikes and you're out, and the Biden crime bill in 1994, and that takes care of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And the echo of that is still happening today. So we have a lot of, to use a term, headless households, where the women had to step up. It was step up or die. So
Mhm.
I get why they had to do what they did, and I applaud them for trying to hold it together. But we know the stats are not in the favor of single mom households. Now, I come from both parents at home for a couple of years, single mom home, then single dad home, and then on my own. I am now with my wife having a nuclear household. The results for our kids are very different. The level of trauma is so much more reduced. Like they come home here, they open the key, they get a hug. We hug on them. My father was not a hugger.
Neither
Right?
was mine.
Right. So, I'll hug on my daughter, I kiss on my daughter, I'll hug on my son, I kiss on my son. How you doing, buddy? Right. There's a lot of gender stereotypes being reinforced in a positive way. I wanted to be Cliff Huxtable. He was my hero for what a father looked like. My father was a good man, but he was not a good husband. Two things can be true at the same time. And he was not socioeconomically towards the top of the food chain, like Cliff Huxtable, like Uncle Phil on The Fresh Prince, like George Jefferson on the Jeffersons, like Andre Anderson Dre in Blackish. This is what I aspire to. So when I saw Blackish come out, I was like, okay, I like this. She's a doctor. He's in advertising and marketing. They're living in a better part of LA. And he's come from the hood and he's done something for himself. And he went to Howard and all these sort of things. That's the narrative that I liked about Blackish. It got a little long in the tooth after a while, but it was still the modern version of what the Cosby Show, the Jeffersons, and to some extent, Good Times, which was at the bottom of the socioeconomic level in the 70s. That's where we were held. Cosby really changed the game for the portrayal of the nuclear Black family. And that's why I don't know if someone's done a thesis on it to think about what
Interesting.
he meant to young people like me coming up to say there's a model of a higher socioeconomic level nuclear Black family. I found that here in Toronto. I knew it existed in Montreal. I wasn't living in that part of Montreal. Not the Good Times level, but just one notch above that. Right? But there are families where the
Yes,
kids
James.
were 16 and had cars. Right? Uncle Phil had a butler, and Claire and Cliff did not have a butler.
Well, just before we go to break, it'd be interesting to get some of the Black fathers who were in those shows together in a table conversation.
Woo. Yeah.
Could you imagine that?
Even the guy from Rock.
Yes.
And
I can't remember his name, but I know
Charles
you're talking about.
Dutton.
Yes, James Dutton, or was it
Charles
Dutton. I think
Dutton,
it was Charles
and then
Dutton,
the guy from Family Matters.
Wouldn't that make an interesting roundtable conversation?
It would be incredible. Uncle, rest in peace, Uncle Phil. He's the voice of Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is kind of crazy.
And it's interesting. They are now doing a Different World reunion tour.
That show as well. I see a lot of their highlights and clips on IG. I think that show really made me aware of HBCUs, because I remember watching TV and it says a mind is a terrible thing to waste. And it was Angela Bassett's husband in the commercials.
Yes,
right?
That was a great the United Negro College Fund.
Right. And I did not know what HBCU was and all that. It was kind of in the periphery. And then out comes Cliff Huxtable talking about Hillman, which is really code for Howard. I think.
Well, that's where my dad graduated from with his economics degree.
All right, that's where my sister got her PhD and her master's, Howard University. HU, as she would say all the time. So that allowed me to aspire to want to go to college and have that blackity black experience. Now, there are no HBCUs in Canada, but there was a college in Montreal called Dawson College, and there was a campus called Selby Campus, and Selby Campus was blackity black. So you got that Hillman vibe in that college. And I think Humber College, Seneca and Sheridan, and Durham College, Centennial also have that core of critical mass of Black students.
Also, too, a lot of African Black students went to the University of Windsor.
Windsor Sports Weekend was legendary.
There you go.
Okay. Anybody who went is life-changing from back in the day. Listen, I couldn't afford to go to Sports Weekend. I was working. I was going to school and I was working. So I never went. But trust me, people would tell me, unbelievable fun.
Yeah. So what we're going to do, family, we're going to go for a quick break. And when we come back, Wayne is going to drop some knowledge about financial ratios. So I'm looking forward to getting educated about this one, because I don't hear about this being talked about, let alone in the African Black community. So give us a break. We'll be back.
And that's what I feel like. You feel like you're the Harriet Tubman of the mind.
I am.
I feel like I'm I'm one of the Harriet Tubmans of intelligent Black people. Like, I want to liberate y'all from like being left behind and ignored and oblivion. Now, really, the rappers get all the attention. Seriously, does anybody else feel this way? Like ignorant black people, they'll be all up, getting all the headlines on the shade room,
Overly
and
sexualized black
over
folks.
like the twerkers and the just people that don't always represent the best of us. The diversity. Like people like Dr. Vibe. Like everybody should know about people like Dr. Vibe.
They
Dr.
really
Vibe
should.
he's trying to do good work for black people.
Dr. Vibe from Toronto. Good to see you, my brother. Dr. Vibe. Everybody follow Dr. Vibe. He has a great show. He's very good at what he does, and I have a lot of respect for him. The men who are also doing the same thing. I see Dr. Vibe in here. He's a great brother. Everybody should follow Dr. Vibe, by the way. He's a smart brother in Canada, and we need to follow smart people. So follow Dr. Vibe. If you see him in the chat, and Dr. Vibe, say your name in the chat so people can see you. I want you to click on his name, and I want you to go follow him, please, because I want these men and women that are doing the right things to get the support they deserve. Hey, Dr. Vibe, how you doing, brother? Again, like I always do, I got to say everybody should go follow Dr. Vibe. He's got a great show. Dr. Vibe, I know Dr. Vibe's got a kingdom because I see your channel. I see you pouring into that every day. Everybody should follow Dr. Vibe, by the way. Look him up, Dr. Vibe, V-I-B-E. He's a great friend of me and my wife, and I love this guy.
Okay, so let me hop into this. What's up, Dr. Vibe? How you doing? Everybody, if you see Dr. Vibe in the chat, everybody go follow the Dr. Vibe show. Dr. Vibe is a real smart brother and a good human being. I like the guy a lot, and he's very intelligent. And I think everyone should pay attention to what he's got going on. We got to shine the spotlight on the intelligent black people out here that are really doing the good work. Don't just pay attention to the rappers and the celebrities. A lot of these people are losers. Your true winners are your people in your community that are really having your back. Helping us to have stronger families and a stronger community. So Dr. Vibe is in that category. So you might see the Dr. Vibe show in this chat. If you see him, please go follow him. Okay. All right. So anyway.
All right. Shout out as always to Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins supporting what I do for you. There we go. Hayden says, if you've never seen yourself in certain roles, you may not believe that it's for you.
Agreed. I think that motivation comes from belief. When people say you can be anything you want, but don't give you the blueprint. I heard this in Richmond, Virginia, 25 years ago. A gentleman by the name of John Crow, not Jim Crow. And John said, exhortation without explanation leads to frustration. And this is true. I think a lot of people say, I want to be rich, I want to be well off, and they don't know the activities that are required to get the result they want. Because I want you to think about two things. There's lead actions and lag actions. Lead actions are the activities you need to do. How many phone calls do you need to make? How many appointments do you need to have? How many proposals do you need to put together in order for you to get a client? People look at the clients. I got 2, 3, 4 clients, 4, 5, 6 deals. But what's the work done up front and before you get those deals? And people aren't putting in the reps. So if you're not putting in the reps, you're not going to get the results. So if you need to talk to 10 people to get one deal and you're talking to 3 people, it's not a plan perpetrated by the man. You haven't done enough work, Dr. Vibe. And people are telling me, I'm out there looking for a job. I put out one resume and I didn't get a job. There are no jobs. What?
The same gentleman many years ago, he did a talk called 212 degrees. So for our American friends, water boils at 212 degrees. In Canada, we have the centigrade 100. But he said that a lot of people give 211 degrees or they'll give 99 degrees centigrade. If you're not going 212 or 100, it's not good enough.
Correct.
It's facts. And I said, so true.
I use the analogy of a vending machine. So a vending machine is going to give you a pop or a soda. That drink that you want that's cool and refreshing and has bubbles and a whole lot of sugar, it's $1. And it clearly states on the vending machine, $1. And you come up to it and you put 25 cents in.
And you hit the machine.
Right. And you're vexed. You're like, why am I not getting my drink? Well, they say, what if I double down on my efforts? So now I put in 50 cents, Dr. Vibe. 50. That's double the effort. I still don't get my drink. I put in 99. Still don't get my drink. Why? Because the price is $1. And a lot of people don't want to pay the price. Now, the price may be different for you than it is for other cultures. But whatever the price is, if you pay it, you get the reward. Now, a lot of people will say that's not true. There's institutional racism. There's a bunch of injustices. And all those things may be true. Yet here I am. Here you are. So at some point, if you take enough personal responsibility and get some mentorship, get some sponsorship, and do the activities that are required to put you in a successful position, sooner or later, success will come to you. It's a law of the universe. Matter is not created or destroyed. So if you put in the work is going to yield results, but it may not yield results in the time frame that you're looking for.
One last thing before we get started, because Wayne is going to talk about financial ratios. I actually was involved in a conversation yesterday with Dr. Fraser, and we were asking him, so you're bringing a PowerPoint for your session on Saturday. He says, I don't do PowerPoints. He goes, I am the power, I am the point. I just said, you just went,
Mic
what?
drop.
I said, what? The whole room just went silent for about 30 seconds. I said, yeah, I got to make sure I put that down somewhere.
Imagine having him, Dr. Claude Anderson, Dennis Kimbrough, Tavis Smiley, and a few others on a panel. Killer Mike, Amanda Seals. Woo! They used to have those in the States.
Yes. Wasn't it called the State of the Black Union?
Yes. Yeah. Tavis Smiley was running.
Yeah, he used to have. And by the way, people who still remember that name, Tavis Smiley has his own radio station in Los Angeles called KBLA. And it's an all talk radio station. He is on every day, Monday to Friday from 12 Eastern to 3 p.m. Eastern. I had lost thought about him, and by blessings about a few months ago, I saw, Tavis Smiley. And he was one of the major inspirations for what I'm doing today, because Tavis is still one of the best interviewers I've ever witnessed. His style is so on.
No, I think I would love to see those guys.
Yeah, that would be
Candace Owens, Larry Elder, and Thomas Souls.
That would, ooh, ouch. Okay, Shirley loves the mic drop by Dr. George Fraser. Just, yes, I need to use that. I endorse 100%. No need for PowerPoints. Okay, let's talk about financial ratios. Numbers don't lie.
All right. So we're going to go with the first one. The first one is budgeting. So we want to have 50%, 50 on after-tax income for essential expenses like housing, utilities, groceries, and transportation. We want 20% for savings and debt repayment. Allocate the remaining 30% for discretionary spending and entertainment. So 50% is what you got to run your household on. Then you're going to put some money into savings, 20%. 50, 30, 20. Are you saving 20%? Because I see people paying the credit card company, paying the car company, paying the mortgage company, but not paying themselves. Do you save 20% of your income every month? And if you're not, you may have a little more month than money. And what do I mean by that? Most people didn't get paid for yesterday if you're on salary. February is, if you're on salary, they said it's 28 days in a month, and they moved on to March. So February 29th, if you're a salaried employee in Canada and the US, you didn't get paid for yesterday. You work for free. And if you're okay with that, that's okay with me, but I would be taking a day off. I cannot be allowed to be working for free. I think we fought in 1865 and 1835, depending on which country or geo you're in, to abolish slavery. So why would you work for free today? And why would you allow your employer to not give you compensation for February 29th? It's the same thing as working Christmas Day and not getting paid double time. Why would you do it? I want you to think about the next ratio. So budgeting 50% of your expenses, which is why if two people are together and you're living in a household, all your bills should be able to cover by one salary. That way, if someone loses their job, you're still good. But when two people are together and two of them together are still struggling, then we know we're living above our means. And I think a lot of people are figuring that out now. Now that the interest rates are so high, it's going to be problematic. Now, I know Ray's on here. I think the last time he said the stress test was like almost 9%. So if the variable rate for an open mortgage is 7.2, stress test is 2 points more. That's 9.2 you need to qualify for. Ray, correct me if I'm wrong. But that means a lot of people who bought homes, when those houses close, they will not have enough income to cover the mortgage. They will not be able to close on their house. And that's what's happening now. People walking away from $100,000, $200,000, and $300,000 deposits and still getting sued by the builder. Builders are walking away. They're just packing up their trades and leaving because they cannot make money in this environment. Because people 2 years ago bought when interest rates were 3%, and now interest rates are 7%. So let's talk about emergency fund. How long should an emergency fund be? It should be for as long as you know you need to cover all your bills for a period of time without having any money come in. I can tell you before COVID, I would say 3 months. I was advising my clients 3 months before COVID. Since COVID, 6 months. Honestly, you need to have at least 6 months of salary so you can think. So think about your expenses for the month. If your expenses for the month are $10,000, you need to have $60,000 available to you to have 6 months.
Can I just interrupt? I'm just going to interrupt you for a second. Two things. First of all, Ray's in agreement with you, correct, Wayne?
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Ray.
And second of all, one of the things I think I discuss periodically, and Wayne says, I have good relationships with my bank. Not only like the people who you meet for mortgages, things like that, but the tellers, So the other day I was coming from my bank, came out, and one of the tellers out there, and we started having a conversation, and she began to share some of the stories
Mhm.
that she sees. She said, there's a gentleman who banks there who makes $10,000 a month,
Mhm.
$5,000 every 2 weeks, has a decent amount on his credit cards. He pays the minimum balance. Oh, gets better. And he's married. She said he's married. He also has some kids. And he spends, she sees it, minimum $1,000 a month on Uber Eats, all these food rideshare things. And she goes, how much money does that account? She says, I don't see any money in his account. I go, you got to be kidding me.
No. Broke at a higher level. 100%.
10K a month and pays minimum on their credit card balance?
Between weed and Uber Eats, takeout, skip the dishes, all those things, DoorDash, I've seen upwards of $1,400 a month because people got depressed or were dealing with mental illness and anxiety during COVID, and they haven't been able to wean themselves off the I can't go out, I don't want to cook, I'm tired, I'm burnt out. They're kind of like functionally depressed, if that's a term. Someone correct me on that. But they're basically going through the motions of being okay, but they're not okay. And they use the Uber Eats and the takeout as their reward to themselves. And those rewards come in Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's 4 days out of 7. Well, if you're going to drop like groceries for a family of 4, probably anywhere between $600 and $800 for groceries. Then you add $100 a week. I will usually say when I'm doing my financial analysis, I said, tell me about roti Thursday, oxtail Friday, pizza Saturday, taco Tuesday. When you do those things, it just nibbles on you very quietly. It's $20 here, $25 there. And before you know it, you're dropping $125 a week. Multiply by 4, $500 in takeout. Then you're saying, well, I don't want to have a car. So great. So I'm going to Uber where I have to go. Uber's $15, $20 there and back. And then if you pop in bottles in the club, well, you're up to $1,000. And a lot of people are there, and to them it's normal. They're like, Wayne, I don't have anything on my RSP. Your RSP is called Uber Eats. That's who you're investing in. You're famous. I see people, and the women, you can let me know. Even if you're wearing your hair naturally and you have to get the sister lock or your locks twisted, clean, conditioned, washed, and moisturized, they're dropping in all these sprays and oils that they have to do to keep the locks looking good. Sometimes $150 a month. Then add pedicure and manicure to that because it was non-negotiable for some women.
I know
manicure and pedicure every 2 weeks, non-negotiable. Some guys, $45 a haircut.
Well, can't relate.
I can't relate either.
I know some individuals that need to have a Tim Hortons coffee every day.
At least 2.
And I'm going, wow. And I got better education because I've changed a lot of my eating routines. And I thought it'd be more expensive to eat healthy. It's cheaper. Do it from home. It's cheaper.
100%. Listen, just going from regular eggs to free range, I cut out the deli meats. Listen, I love me some salami, ham, and so on. The slices to make sandwiches reminds me of being a kid. But those things are so full of nitrates, they're carcinogenic. So I had to get rid of that. So, IPV-ADDT. She's on me. Check the comments.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, she goes, Wayne step lightly when it comes to Maddie and Petties, please. JJ Mars, Asians own 95. That's old. That's a known fact.
More. His number is low because it was the Chinese for the wigs and the Koreans for the extensions.
I see a lot of Filipinas running nail care shops.
100%. When you think about the toxic chemicals in the nail polishes, and then you're putting that onto your nails, which are porous. They look hard, but they're porous. So these chemicals are seeping into your cuticles because they're cutting the chemicals to clean them up. Then they're putting the chemicals right into raw skin on your nails and on your hands. And then they wonder why they have issues down the road. I can tell you that if you're going someplace that is not sustainable and they don't put it on their window saying they're using sustainable products, you're putting the cheapest chemicals that they can get that are probably the most toxic they can get away with directly into your body. And again, my daughter has never had her hair processed. She saw my sister with locks. She's like, I want that. And she went locks, and then they got too heavy for her. She cut the locks. Now she has these baby locks and twists and different things, but she's never put any product in her hair to straighten her hair. And she's 23 years old, 24 this year. I salute her for that. And my wife and her, they go out and they get their natural treatments for their hair, and they're celebrating the anti-gravity of black hair, because black hair can stand straight up on its own. Magic. So you're talking about black girl magic. You see a haircut and this boom out here, and the afro is just full, and just, you can't touch it. First rule. If you could, it'd be super soft and super lush. One of the things I would love to see, and I was hoping to see from Michelle Obama, maybe not in the first term, but definitely in the second term, I was hoping for her to go natural and send a message to the entire diaspora that when you're in the second most powerful seat in the world, you don't have to process your hair to be professional. She had a real opportunity, and she did not take it. I'm disappointed by that.
Well, let's get back to ratios. We went off on a tangent.
All right.
For
No,
a
that's
bit.
good. It's good. No, it's fine. So emergency fund, 3 to 6 months, we got that covered. Debt management. For those of you, and Ray is a godfather here, and Ted as well. Shout out to the mortgage agents out there and the brokers out there trying to get us into positive equity, because not all equity is good equity, and not all houses make sense. And we're learning that now, because a bad deal can be masked by a low interest rate, but a good deal is good in any conditions. And one of the things we want to look at is you don't want any more than 36% of your balance on your credit card. I would say 30. So if you have a credit card that has a balance of $10,000, do not have more than $3,000 in that card. If you see yourself going above $3,000, stop using the card, and your credit will not drop, because utilization is key. You do not want to be more utilized, because as you add more utility to the card, your credit rating starts to drop. If your credit rating is below 700, a Ray has to work twice as hard. 650, 680, 650 a little tight, 680, good. Anything 700, 800, fantastic, and you can get a loan from anyone. I'm going to implore people to get loans and have them with zero balance before you need a loan. So if you're balling out, go not to your bank where they can see your checks coming and see how you live in, and you have all your eggs in one basket. Go find another bank and see if you qualify there for that loan. Why? Because if your bank tries to get smart or cheeky and decides that they want to call your loan because they see what's going on in your account, like that lady, the teller you're talking about, she goes, I see what he's spending on Uber Eats. I don't want to go to her for a loan because she's already judging me. I go somewhere else where all they have to go on is my credit rating, because too much information can be a bad thing.
So Fitness IQ Cam has a question though. Why not switch from 30% savings debt repayment and 20% discretionary?
That would make sense if people would do it. Most people don't. You're absolutely correct.
There she said switch. Okay.
Fine. Do it. The less you spend discretionary, the better. There's a movie out now, Bob Marley, One Love. I got to go see it, right? But I'm not rushing to go see Bob Marley's movie. Yeah, I love Bob. I would like to go see Bob Marley, One Love. I don't have to go see Bob Marley, One Love. It's discretionary.
There you go. So Ray, again, watching your back, 680 or higher, preferably over 700 for default insured mortgages and refinances.
Okay. Perfect. Savings, right?
Okay, actually, but before we go any further, I'm going to put it out there. At least once a year, get your credit report. And there are services out there where you can check your credit rating daily. Actually, anytime you want. It's free.
Credit Karma and Borrowwell.
Yeah. And I'll be up until 3 years ago, I was afraid to check my credit rating because I thought it was bad. When I checked, I went, whoa.
Yeah, a lot of people treat checking credit like going to the doctor. They don't want to know. You see people dying every day. You say, why did this person die? Well, they had stage 4 colon cancer. How did they get stage 4 colon cancer at 53? Because at 50, they didn't get the colonoscopy. Because if they got the colonoscopy at 50, they would be alive today. But they'd rather not know. Doesn't make any sense.
People know who watch us on a regular basis. I go to my doctor every 3 months.
Wow.
I don't play. And that's been going on for 15 years.
That's great.
And also, I have the same doctor as my dad. So all the challenges he's had health-wise, my doctor's already plugged in. That's another suggestion for everybody. I know we're talking about finances, but your health is your wealth.
Yes.
Find out the medical history of your family and tell your doctor.
Get power of attorney for health for your family so you can talk to your daughter candidly without having your parents even there. So you can get to know the deal. Because when they become incompetent, you can't get that without a struggle. So get it now while your parents are healthy. Say, listen, can I get power of attorney for health? I know what you want. So once I know what you want, I will take care of business. Now, power of attorney for money, very, very scary if you don't have a person of high integrity and character having the power of attorney. So be very circumspect with who you choose for your power of attorney for property and money.
And again, I know we're talking about financial ratios, but this is all part of it.
Agreed.
And I think I've shared it in the past. One of my dad's closest friends took very bad in regards to health. A few things. First of all, he had his finances in order. He had his will, all that power of attorney. So my dad and this other gentleman, they've been all best friends over 70 years.
Mm-hmm.
So he named them as power of attorney. And he had it in his wishes, that written wishes, that if one of them transitioned, I would be next. But because they were elderly, they asked me to help them with, just be there as a support. So I got a firsthand look of what that process is all about. And let me tell you, family, have it in place. Because this gentleman's things went smoothly, seamlessly. I was even on meetings because he had bank accounts. I was in on those meetings, all that stuff. And periodically I go to that bank. The manager said, "Thank you so much for handling it." She goes, "It was our pleasure," etc. And I said, "You know what? Can I come to you with any other things?" She says, "No problem," because we built a relationship.
And relationships are the lubrication for successful collaboration. If you have a net worth of less than $1 million, I have a facility that will do your will for you, your living will, and your power of attorney. So reach out to me if you're interested in those documents. I do a financial needs analysis, which is an assessment of where you are at this point in time in your life. And once I have that, then it's going to be clearer to me what assets you have and don't have in place, and what debt you're going to be transferring on, and whether you have a mechanism and a facility to handle that debt, because there's going to be expenses when you pass.
Absolutely.
And there's going to be debt when you pass. And if you have the money to take care of it, you don't leave it up to your family to take care of it.
Yeah. Now, this gentleman had everything taken place. Like, he had it in his will, who got how much money, etc. And there's still money left over.
This is rare. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, if the money is in the estate, you're not in first position as next of kin. You're in third position. Government's in first position. Creditors in second position. You're in third position. But if the money's outside of your estate, the named beneficiary is in first position with no estate tax, no creditor exposure, and no probate. So if you don't understand what I just said,
you better book an appointment
and jump the fence. All right, next concept.
Oh, and one last comment before you go on: have the right power of attorney as well.
One for property, one for banking, and then another one for health. Because during COVID, people were intubated and in forced comas and could die, and their families didn't have the power of authority to do anything for them. Maybe the spouse did, but now you're guilty if you choose incorrectly. What if, in March, COVID could take you out, but in June or July, it won't, and you could recover, but you chose to pull the plug because you're using March information. Things change. That's the one constant in life. Things change, and you need to be up to date on what's going on and make sure you have all your assets itemized and wrapped in a bow, because many people are forgetting about their digital assets. You have a Yahoo account, a Hotmail account, a Gmail account, a MySpace account, a LinkedIn, a Facebook, an
online
IG,
show,
a TikTok, all those usernames and passwords for all those accounts. To get the email, it's going to say, we're going to send an email to your email to confirm it. You can't get into that email because you don't have the password. Think about the digital assets as well. All right, so now retirement savings, 10 to 15% contributions. Listen, in Canada, we have the RRSP, Registered Retirement Savings Plan. We have the tax-free savings account, and we have the brand new First Home Savings Account. All three buckets are great ways for you to save towards buying a house or preparing for your future retirement. What number do you need to have come in every month? House is paid for, kids are gone, cars paid for, is just taxes, utilities, you and a partner, or you. How much money do you need? And based on if you're male or female, look at your grandfather when they passed away. Look at your father if they're still alive, to get a gauge on where you're going to be. My grandfather died at 55. My father died at 90. I'm 57. Could I go deep? I know enough to go deep, but anything can happen. But I'm prepared. If I don't go deep, everything's paid for. And if I do go deep, there's enough money to take care of me if I go beyond what people would consider to be my best before date, which is 85 in Canada for a man, 86 for a woman. So if you're going to go beyond that, you better have enough money to keep you whole. Now there's Canada pension plan, there's old age security, and those things are going to give you less than $2,000 a month, which is not even rent anymore. So what are you going to do to top up? Well, if you add another person and they both have $1,900, you max out CPP and OAS and they max out, that's almost $4,000. You have a chance. Maybe find a lower cost geo rather than living right on top of the CN Tower. If you go a little further out, the rents will drop and become hopefully a little more reasonable, and you should be able to live. But you have to think about this. Long-term care facilities are few and far between. Public long-term care facilities are even fewer and further between. So that
Look,
means you're going to pay
waiting
$5,000,
list.
$6,000, $10,000 a month. Well, where's that money coming from? If you have a house, you can sell the house and you have the cash to pay for it, assuming you live during the window. But there's certain things that we can do, I and my team can do. It's called an annuity. An annuity will pay you a monthly amount every month. Even if your original amount of money runs out, we continue paying that amount until you pass away. It's not as complicated as it is. It's just basically, rather than getting lump sum, we take the lump sum and we invest it. We're going to give you this return every month, no matter what. Market goes up, market goes down, you run out of money, you're going to get that money every month. And if you do that, then you can plan for your life knowing that you've got CPP and OAS plus the annuity, you know you're going to survive. And you can live anywhere you want. We talked about credit utilization, try to keep it below 30%. And lastly, housing costs. Listen, I'm not going to tell you, it's no joke. Canada is upside down as it is in the current situation. And I don't know who's driving the bus in Ottawa. Shout out to Brian Mulroney, who passed away yesterday. I actually met the Honorable Brian Mulroney at a steakhouse, Bardi Steakhouse, about 20 years ago. This guy was the guy who brought in GST and said it was going to be temporary. Here we are, 30 some odd years later, still with GST. So cool that I met a prime minister. He was a conservative and his party got decimated after he left. But some of the things that he talked about in terms of having a better relationship with the Americans and getting the free trade act going, NAFTA and all that, kudos to him for doing what he did. And he also did Meech Lake and some other things to help with the Charlottetown Accord and get that going. So I want you guys to understand this. The ratios are clear. Don't buy more house than you can afford, even if it's a great deal, because if anything goes wrong, you don't have any backup. When we bought our first house, my wife and I, we said if either one of us gets laid off, we can still pay this mortgage. That house was $167,000. You can't get a shed for $167,000 in Toronto now.
A shed.
I think about it today. I mean, Amazon and some other companies are selling these prefab houses that you can build for $35,000. I would love to see what the R rating on the insulation is for those houses, because we have some real cold winters up here. And that might be cool in Miami or Florida, but it may not be cool for Canada. And I don't know if Canada will allow the sewage and the plumbing and all the different things that you need to connect to that in regular developments. But we know we have the trailer parks, and the trailer parks are not what you think they are. These are double wides and beautiful homes at 1,200 square feet, some of these trailers. People are living in these things and they're laughing because all they have to do is play the connection for the sewage and play the connection for the electricity, and they're set. They're less than an hour outside of Toronto, and they're living for less than $250,000. Schools are there. Everything is there in the regular community. So whatever you think about trailer park, do a different thinking, because I think this is going to be more of what we're going to see going forward for lower cost housing. Container homes, prefab homes is happening because anybody dropping $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 in a condo and maintenance fees going up every year with no control. I was a president of my board. We had to raise the maintenance fees to keep the reserve fund, because you have a reserve fund study and you have to have the reserve in positive. Otherwise, no one can sell, because they're putting a lien on your property, because the maintenance of the building is not sustainable. Roofs have to be done, underground parking has to be done, things have to be paved, doors, windows. It's crazy. Condos are probably your first way to access home ownership, especially in Toronto. If you're going to do it, work with Ray, work with Ted, get yourself the numbers and use the ratios. 50%, not a penny more, and you have a chance. If it's more than that, don't buy it. Continue renting.
Right. We got some comments here. IPV ADTs using the Borrowwell app. Someone you know rather well, Heather Harris, says, "Good morning, Dr. Vibran. Getting older must be intentionally navigated." I like that. IPV ADT says, interesting. You got to know that anytime a bill is put forward and passed in Canada, it's unlikely never to be undone.
Facts.
That's true. It's true.
It never goes backwards. It never goes backwards.
I remember when the GST and all the hubbub and all the protests, and it's still here.
Still here.
It's not going anywhere. Not going anywhere. Well, Mr. Harris, thank you as always for sharing with us today. Any last thoughts you have for the family today?
Yes, as always, I offer complimentary financial needs analysis. Takes about an hour. If you know your numbers, come to the table in full confidentiality. Know your bills, first of all. Bring your statements for your investments, because people say, oh, I have an RSP, but you're making 0.5% on the RSP. It doesn't make any sense. Oh, I have a locked-in retirement account because I left a company a little while ago. They gave me the money, and the money's sitting there, and you had it in an investment that is making nothing. Those things can make you money, and make you money the right way, because you have to think about your pensions from companies that you left. If it stays in the pension and you don't have a spouse, where does the pension go? If you have a pension and you pass away and you no longer work there, but the pension's coming in, where does the pension go? And you don't have a spouse and your kids are over 25. Get back to me. Let me know. I already know the answer.
I think I know the answer too, but I'm
Right.
not going to give that out. But
And
Wayne-
it's on the estate side, so there's tax and probate and delay to get that to your family, even if you could get it to your family.
Wayne's contact information is on the screen, and I've also shared it out on all the platforms except Ryan's LinkedIn. But on all the other platforms, it's there in the comments section. It's there. But now, whenever I hear financial stories, I think of either Wayne or Ray. I'm going, but
Yeah.
that one about $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
Wow.
Standard stuff, buddy. We have clients who are paying $1,100 a month for Teslas that they can't afford. Well, because they said, listen, if I bought a Honda Accord, it's about $650. Then I'm going to put $100 a week in gas. That's $1,000. So I may as well get the Tesla for $1,100 and I'm good. Well, that assumes you're driving to the tune of $100 a week in gas. Because if you don't, the Tesla is at a fixed cost of $11 plus the charging, although the charging is less expensive. I keep seeing these stories about people having to replace batteries and the batteries being $30 and $40 and $50,000. They're gonna have to sort that out before you see me driving a Tesla or any other electric car, because I am deathly afraid of the end of life of that battery and being out of warranty and having to replace the entire battery on my dime.
Yeah.
I could buy 3 Honda Accords used for $50,000 for the cost of a battery. 2030, 2035 is when the government of Canada wants EVs to run the town. I'm going to take every opportunity to go past that day. So I may not be able to buy a new car that is not EV, but all the used cars will still be there. I'm going to driving with gas until I can no longer find a gas car, because I don't think EV is the answer. I think there's some other power source that's less colonizing, if that's the word, than the EV and what they're doing in DRC to get the rare earth minerals to make those batteries and those electronics. And our people are once again being exploited in Africa and all over the world, Haiti as well, to provide the raw materials for these batteries. And it's a no bueno for me. When you look at the carbon footprint of an EV versus the carbon footprint of a gas cars win hands down.
And Ray says, I'm with you, Wayne. EV have too many limitations that gas have. I will buy my last gas car in 2034 and it should outlive me. Well, look who's here. Roland Lowe says $15,000 for a prefab home on Amazon. Yeah, I've seen ads about that. And one other thing today, family, don't think interest rates are going to go down anytime soon.
This is a Ray conversation, but I know based on what I saw in 60 Minutes last week, the US isn't changing their rate. We usually follow suit with them. I think the earliest we're going to see anything change, it will be summertime. But right now,
I'm not even going to go. Well, let alone yesterday, the Canadian economy grew a little bit. So as long as the economy keeps on growing, even if it's at 1%, they're not going to lower the rates.
I agree, because the madness will just start. The madness will just start all over again.
A lot of people understand, in order for interest rates to go down, the economy has to go down. Right? Yes. People have to lose jobs for interest rates to get better.
Well, it's happening, buddy. You saw the banks have laid a bunch of people off.
Oh,
laid a bunch of people off.
What about Bell Canada a few weeks ago?
5,400 people or 4,500 people. So yeah, it's happening, but it's happening in pockets and it's happening sporadically. I don't know if it's trending yet, because employment is still pretty high.
Robust. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, CTV News Channel, there's a longtime reporter there named Angie Seth. Who's interviewed me 2 or 3 times. She posted 2 weeks ago. Just want to announce, with all the cutbacks, my nightly show, which I really fought years. She used to have she had a 1-hour show on CTV News Network, one of the major networks here in Canada. Prime time, 7 to 8 Eastern time. It got cut. She got cut. And she's been a journalist on that platform for many years. Ray says, any change, it will be minimal. Debt management is what folks need to be focused on and building their investment portfolios. Roland, you mentioned losing jobs. AI. There you go. Well, again, actually, I want to get your feedback. Oh, one other thing before we get to that. What about Hyundai?
Depends on the year and depends on the vehicle. The Tucson is probably the best car they make. Although they're second to the Japanese in terms of hybrid technology and EV technology, I'm not sure I would trust a Hyundai over a Toyota. We own a Hyundai. We have a Santa Fe, and it has served us well. But to say there were problems would be an understatement. But it has been fairly stable the last number of years. But would I do it again? I don't think so. I think I'm going to stick with Toyota and Lexus and just pay the piper and let that car depreciate over 10 years. I win because it will last 10 years. Over 3-4 years, I lose on depreciation. But if I'm going to keep this car until I can sweep it up in a dustpan, Toyota, Lexus, Honda, Acura for the win. I've heard good things, but when I talk to the guys who actually drive and know about cars, they would say Subaru depends on the model. The WRX that they have with the Porsche Boxster engine, legendary. The Legacy seems to be okay. The Outback seems to be okay.
Yeah, okay. The comment that Tyler Perry made in the last few weeks. Did you hear about this story? ChatGPT, the developers of that, have now released a new AI component called Sora AI, which basically you give it text and it produces video.
Yes, I've seen that.
Okay, Tyler Perry was in the midst of doing an $800 million expansion to his studio. He saw Sora AI and he said, you know what? I'm stopping the expansion. He said, this thing is going to take a lot of jobs. And he says, I'm stopping right here. I'm not going to do any expansion because he's feeling it's not financially worth it with all the changes, especially in the world of AI, to his industry and others.
I will tell you this about AI, and I'm not an expert. I know Dr. Tachi has a lot of expertise in AI. AI is only a threat if you are doing things that do not require cultural nuance. What does that mean? It means if you're going to do things that are vanilla, AI will take you out. But if you need to know the difference between a man from Negril and a man from Ochi, know the difference between a man from North York and a man from Brampton, AI is not there yet. It's not going to get there fast enough because it needs the nuance to be programmed into it. And the people who are programming into it don't know that either. Knowledge is king, context is queen. AI is knowledge, but it doesn't have the context. And as long as the context, you can stay ahead of that curve, you'll be just fine.
As always, to you and the family, and your team, don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace.
Peace.
All right, there he goes. Wayne Harris in the house, everybody. There we go. Another great conversation. So how are we going to close out? Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you want to advertise your business product or service on the platform, please feel free to email me dr.vibe@drvibeshow.com and join the Morning Vibe Discord group. Email me dr.vibe@drvibeshow.com. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just copy and paste that and put it in all these things in the comment sections where you family is watching me. At the bottom, it's scrolling. You can watch replays of this epic conversation on Dr. Vibe on YouTube and Facebook, Afro-Caribbean Business Network, Facebook and YouTube, and Ryan Neil Knight, YouTube and LinkedIn. So let's cut it off here. So let's do it like this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourself grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. So I do shows on Saturday, primetime Saturday with Aisha and Lala. All right. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith. Walk good and take care of yourself.